All right, welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. My friend, how you been?
Good.
Hey,
It's been a long time.
it's been about a year since I last seen you.
I think it's been longer. I think
You think
last
so?
time I saw you was, it was at work.
Yeah, that was 2019, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yeah. So
when
it's been a
COVID
while.
hit, and yeah, what a wild time that was, huh?
Yeah, that was something else for sure. I mean, it was my first I guess I was just coming into healthcare, so that was an interesting awakening, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was man, for me. I just moved here and didn't know anybody, and then COVID hit. Stuck in that little apartment I had. It was awful.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I don't know. There was like so many good things that came out of COVID. I feel like um it's interesting. I think perspective is I mean, some of the best things in my life right now happened because of COVID. So I
All
think
right, I respect that.
perspective is everything, but also while COVID was happening and when I knew you was also probably the worst time of my life
Yeah,
at the same time. So it's very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I agree with you. A lot of good did come out of COVID. It exposed a lot. I feel like, especially towards healthcare, it
Yeah.
exposed like, why am I gonna do all this? And you guys are gonna pay me like, you're gonna pay me in pizza.
Yeah.
You know,
Pizza parties.
yeah. I thought that was so weird. Like they're all about being like health conscious and like here's pizza, here's ice cream, here's soda, here's like
Yeah,
the worst food of the worst food. And please come back for more,
totally.
put your life on the line and then your family. Like the more and more I thought about it, I was like, okay, I'm like face front with these people who have COVID, and then try not to take that home.
Yeah. I love that you bring that up because I mean, since last time I saw you, a lot has happened in my life. I transitioned out of nursing. I started my own business, and kind of the health thing was a huge thing for me.
Mm.
So just it was not aligning with who I wanted to be, and I just felt such an internal disconnect. I it's hard to describe just because you know I've had to do a lot of internal work about it,
Yeah.
just spending so much time going to school and then realizing that you're about to do something completely different. So
Yeah. Well, let's get into that. So, yeah, when I met you, you were just starting nursing, right?
yeah, so I was a tech at the emergency
Yeah.
department. And I mean, that's how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
I'd
You
bring the
wheel 'em
patients,
over. Wheel them on over.
bring the patients
Yeah.
in, and then just hang out with you guys. And then I was in nursing school during that time,
Yeah.
and I think during the time that I got to meet you, I mean, I had just recently started working, and I I had a terrible breakup. Everything happened so fast. So my grandma had passed away. Shortly after, I had this terrible breakup. And then I remember starting to do my clinicals, and it was in skilled facility,
Uh-huh.
like nursing facilities, and I just broke down. I was like, "What the fuck am I doing?" I was
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
"I'm like, this is not what I was imagining my life to be
Mm-hmm.
like." And then then I just kept going to nursing school, and then I don't know, things happen so randomly, but during my third semester of nursing school, I became a certified hypnotherapist.
Okay.
And I graduated. I did my capstone at the
Okay.
emergency department.
Damn.
And then I was like, okay, do I want to work here? And then I was like, something is not aligning with the person. that I want to be. So going back to where you're saying, we preach so much about health, yet our own lifestyles don't align to that. Lack of sleep, poor nutrition,
Oh yeah.
and for me, I realized, so previous life, I still do this. I'm also a licensed massage therapist. So I have my own massage
How do
business
you
as well.
find time to fit all these credentials? Like
Well,
massage nurse, hypnotherapist.
well, it's funny that you say that, because that's how I realized that what I really wanted to do with my life and what my life's purpose was. So I was always searching, and the answer was always there. So, I started with massage. I've been doing massage now for probably about, I would say like 9 years. And then I got into nursing, and then I got into hypnotherapy and mindset coaching. And I like kept saying, what else do I need to do? What else do I need to do? And then I just realized that my purpose is to be of service of others, to help others, And I realized how important it was for me to actually, like what we're doing right now, this like connection is so profound to me, and nursing was not giving me that, right? And this is just a personal opinion of what I was trying to create for my life.
Sure.
Right?
100%. Man, that's it's impressive though that even though you put all that time into schooling and everything, that you still found something that you liked.
Yeah.
And you can always, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but you could always go back to nursing if you want and try maybe different avenues, or that intertwines with like hypnotherapy and nursing.
Totally.
I don't know much about that world, but yeah, it's hard. I go back and forth like that right now with being CT and X-ray.
Yeah.
It's like, do I want to keep doing this for another, 15, 20 years? If I have that much time left in me, maybe like 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's go with 10.
Yeah.
Do I want to keep like throwing my body overboard for, and who I work for isn't awful. They're really great to me. They treat me well. But, you work for these $1 million corporations and you just get a little chunk change.
Yeah.
And you put a lot of time and effort to get this education, certifications, taking these tests to get to that point. And by the time you get to that point, you're just burnt out.
Totally.
And I went through the same thing you went through when I was going through X-ray school radiology. Bad breakup. I was living in like two different places during school. I would have to go back up to my hometown, stay with my friend, then go back down for the week, live down there.
Yeah.
I was just all over the place. And then like by the time I was done and I got to Utah, my first job, I was done.
Yeah. Was the where we met your first?
That was my first gig.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
See, we were both just new, trying to live our best lives, and there we were. Boom, COVID.
Yeah, and
Welcome.
then COVID hit, and I was like, man, I was that was probably the most scariest time in life. I thought for sure I was done.
Yeah.
I thought for sure I was gonna, blow my brains out. I was this close to just forget it. Sitting in my little studio apartment. I get like 3 days off max in a row. I worked every weekend for like 10 months straight, and I just like.
Well, don't you think it's funny that we think that there's the dream, oh, you work 3/12s and then you're done. I'm like, that life is shit.
I do that now and I hate it.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
I'm like, it works for some people, but I just realized that, as I started thinking about like my body, my mind, like that is my priority, is how I show up in the world and being mentally, physically strong. And then realizing, how do I want to show up for my husband? How do I want to show up for, my children, right? And it's just like things just were like over and over, things were not aligning with who I want to be,
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I'm doing 4/12s right now just because we're down a tech.
Oh my gosh.
And I've worked every weekend. This is going the second month. I'll be working every weekend. And when I hit that fourth day, it is so weird to watch my brain. Like I know what I'm doing, but
Yeah,
my brain is like, you, I'm done. You
totally.
tap in, dude. You need to go. You need to sleep. I maybe get like 8 hours of sleep
Yeah.
total within 4 days, and
Yeah, that's wild.
it is so unsafe. The more and more I think about it, I'm like, when I'm doing scans, I'm like, all right, go now, go now, go now. Like, you really have to like talk myself like, okay, this is A, B, and C. Okay, everything's good. Okay, go.
Totally.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
such a mental game that it's not even like, how do I explain it? Obviously the work is like, it's hard, but it's even harder when you're just like checked out.
Mm,
And I'm sure you know the
sure.
feeling. You're just like, okay, this is my fourth 12 in a row. I hate my job. I
Mm-hmm.
hate my life. Like you start to just like,
Yeah.
sink.
Yeah.
It's so weird when you don't get enough sleep, like you were saying. And I'm starting to feel like there's no way I could like
I just
do this more
wonder,
and more.
I mean, I particularly don't know how
I don't know
how you fix a system that is so broken, right?
yeah,
Because there are people who love the schedule. There
yeah,
are people who, for them that works, right? I just don't feel like health-wise is right for anyone to
totally.
live that lifestyle.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, there's science to prove it, what it does to you, your body, right?
yeah,
After being sleepless for so long,
yeah,
fucking with your circadian rhythm,
yeah,
you're just like, okay, let's hope for
yeah,
the best. And then, mindset is what I do for work. And, optimizing different aspects of our life to be the best person we can be, right? So if you're a person that's sleep deprived, right? What does that do to your mood? What does that do to your cognitive thinking? You're not fully there, right?
right.
And I could sense it in myself, like I'm not going to be showing up the right way. Is it worth it to me?
Yeah,
Right. And this is not about not being compassionate to not wanting to take care of, patients. Like I love that. Right. But I'm not willing to sacrifice my own well-being for someone else. I'm just
totally.
not.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm in it right now, and I'm not. I still really love what I do, where I'm doing it at, and but I know deep down inside, like finish up a couple things, and then by the time I hit 40, knock on wood, I'd like to be somewhere else
Yeah.
doing something else, because like you said, more and more I catch myself more and more just checked out, and it affects everything. It affects relationships, your
Yeah.
friendships, like your mood. I treat patients, I'm short tempered,
Yeah.
and they're like, dude, what are you doing? They didn't do anything to you. You're just rude. You're the rudest dude ever.
You're like, well,
you
I don't
know?
mean to be, but sometimes it
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
And it's weird that system, like you said, feels like that's the safest. That's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you get to work 312s. It's like, hold on, man.
Yeah.
You get off at 7:30. You get home maybe by 8 if you live close,
Right.
and then you're trying to wind down from your adrenaline being, at 11 for
Yeah.
7 hours,
Yeah. Totally.
and then there's you, and then you got substance problems too. Healthcare individuals have to be the most alcoholic dependent people I know.
It's an
And I got a ton.
interesting
I got a ton
environment.
right there. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's truth right there. That we, you know, telling us or telling, people just sending a video on self-care. I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it. It's
Yeah.
not going to cut it, right? And so it's hard to find that balance of, how, as I mentioned, some people love their 312s,
Yeah, some
right?
people thrive.
Love that.
Yeah.
Some people love graveyard shifts.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I have that superpower? I'm like early to bed, get up early in the morning and grind. I am not into late nights. And, that was one thing that it's like, I was, surrounded by a lot of people in healthcare that they function at this level very late at night. And I'm like, I just can't.
I'm the same.
I'm dead.
I can't. I don't know how. God bless those people that, because I can't do it. I've tried and I tried. I was like, this ain't for me, dude.
Yeah.
I'm worse than I am doing something like that than I am during the day.
And I mean, sometimes I wonder, in life, we go with this idea of who we want to be and what we want to do. For me, it was like emergency medicine was what I was passionate about. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go there, And then it's just very bizarre the way that things happen. All of a sudden you're just like questioning everything that you're doing, So I don't know. It's crazy to me. I just don't know.
Well, I'm glad though you got through nursing and you're a nurse.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to fall back and use that, you have it. That's
Yep.
what I tell a lot of people. A lot of people, especially, we're not that young, but people behind us.
I'm young. What are you talking about? I'm in my prime.
I'm sorry, not that young. I mean, we're not that old. We're not that old. And, the more I just always keep hearing this like talk of, don't go to school.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You don't need that. I'm like, be careful who you're listening to say that. Because now you can have that in your back pocket and you can go do whatever it is else you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that seems like so like counterintuitive. Like you spend all this money and then go do something else. But it's like, I have it. And the people I see who have education and have gone to something else, they're not really stressed out.
Yeah, totally.
Besides, from the people who don't have education.
Right. And I strongly believe that, I try to live my life in a way of realizing that everything that you do, every person that you encounter, every chance that you take is a gift and opportunity to learn something, right? So nursing gave me huge knowledge base on how to deal with people so much better too, right? So now I coach people out of the country, out of the state, and being able to, sometimes when I have people with health problems or, being able to kind of coach people the best way possible, nursing definitely gave me tools that actually make people trust you too,
Yeah, you
Where
have the
like,
education.
Oh, okay, you're taking this seriously.
Yeah, you're not some, person who just went online and got some certificate, sat for 8 hours.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when people come to me, they have like radiology questions. Like, hey, should I get this scan? Because point in case you have the knowledge of what they're seeking.
Yeah.
So there's some truth to education. I hope people regardless of what you hear, you should go for it.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't matter in the end. It's like life is, like, as I mentioned, life is such a weird thing because I've done so many things. I mean, my first degree, I was 20. I had moved back. So I'm originally from Chile.
Oh yeah. Let's get into that. Where you're originally from. That's what like struck me when I first met you.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Chile.
Damn.
And, I moved to the States. Well, my mom had gotten divorced and I moved to Argentina. So I lived in Argentina for about 4 years. And then we just decided to come to the States. And so I moved to the States when I was probably around like almost 12.
Okay.
And I mean, you can ask me as many questions as you want. I'm just trying to make this as short as possible. So then when I was around 20, I moved back down to Chile and I went to an art school there and I got my first degree in photography.
Awesome.
And so the point of it is that I've done so much, right? That you can just keep doing and learning and it doesn't matter, right? That if you're passionate about something in that moment, go for it.
Yeah.
100%. Right. And that's what I've done. Every time I've wanted to do something and explore it, I've done it. I've, finished it 100%. And then I decide, is this aligning with what I want to do? And then if it does, great. And if it doesn't, I'm moving on to the next thing.
Yeah. It's just so wild. Like, being from like Chile. You prefer
Oh,
to
I
say
love
Chile?
I love that.
Okay.
Chile.
Chile.
Yeah. People always say, "Why do you say it so American?" You know, cuz
Like
I'm
Chile.
like
You're from
well,
Chile?
because sometimes people don't understand. They're like, "Where?" You know, I remember being in school. I was in middle school and I tell people where I was from because I had this terrible broken English. And I'm like, Chile. And they're like, where's Chile? And then they'd make the joke, do you guys eat chili in Chile? Is it a
Yeah.
spicy country in Chile? And I was like,
Kids.
all right, moving on.
What drove you guys to come to the States? Was there something like on board or just needed
So
to change?
let's talk about the reality of what it's like to be an immigrant. And I think most
Yes.
people move to this country, you know, thinking the American dream, right?
Whatever that is now.
Whatever that is. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure what that is. I'm
I don't
still trying
know.
to figure that out. But you know, my mom had gotten divorced when I was 6. And as I mentioned, we had moved to Argentina. And then my grandma, we had a friend that lived out here. And my grandma was visiting and she calls my mom and says, hey, you should just come here and see, check it out if you like it. My mom was an actress in Argentina. She was in a lot of commercials. She was the face
Wow.
of Coca-Cola.
No
And she's like, oh, maybe we'll go to LA and I'll do an acting career, you know. Little did we know that's a whole other thing. I mean, my
Yeah.
mom's still very strong accent. Her English is not the greatest, you know.
Sure.
So it's so that's kind of how we ended up here. And then after that, my mom ended up meeting the love of her life, and that's how we stayed in Utah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That is wild. I have a lot of friends from like different parts of the world. I've been lucky to meet all these people. I was like, and I always tip my hat to them. There's no way I could do that.
You totally could.
There's no way I could leave everything, home, comfort, and go to a new country and just
Really?
give it a shot. I can't.
Okay, so but I
You know?
mean you travel though, right?
I haven't traveled out of the country
But
yet.
you do, I mean, you were doing travel assignments.
No,
right?
Never done travel
Are
assignments.
you like Utah local?
No, so
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, I thought you were
no. So I'm originally from Southern California.
Gotcha.
And I lived all over that area, and then I just up and moved to
Okay.
Utah because they gave me a job. I was like, all right, I'll take it.
Love it.
Yeah, that was I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. When I was moving, I was like, am I doing this? And I did it.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I think people say that they wouldn't do that, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up with that learning to liberate and learning to let go so much.
yeah,
I mean, that's probably one of the hardest things I think to understand as a child is like you make a friend and then you let them go.
yeah.
And, you know, you move to a new school and then you let that go, you know. But so my husband, it's funny because he grew up, so he's from St. Louis, he's from Missouri.
Okay.
And he grew up and I mean, his graduating class was 8 people.
Dang.
So there's that.
Hey, all 8 of them made it.
So there's that. And
wow,
we
he must have lived in a little part of wherever that is.
He's just the cutest. But we talk about our backgrounds, right? He jokes. Well, actually, he was serious. And we bought a house a couple years ago. And he's like, this is the perfect house for the next 30 years. And I looked at him and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You're out of your mind, you know? Because in me, I'm like, okay, like every 10 years, we'll probably move somewhere else. We'll do something else. And he's like that, which is probably good. He brings that stability into my life because I'm more of, let's just go. Let's just go explore. Who cares? Let's leave it all behind.
I have a lot of that in me too. The amount of times I moved, I mean, I remember one year I moved 5 times in 1 year. I was just notorious for uprooting.
Yeah, see, you'd be just fine.
It would take me a minute. I'm sure I'd have my mental breakdowns, and then I would like, okay.
Yeah.
For me, I just need a routine.
Yeah.
When I came here, I didn't have a routine. It was a routine, but not a routine I enjoyed. It was just like, stay at home, can't do anything. But, you know, so what happened to bring you up to speed is after I quit the U, I tried to move back home.
Oh, you did?
And I did move back home. I got a job through some people I knew. They had connections at a hospital, and they like got me in there.
Yeah.
So I moved all my stuff, and I didn't even finish staying a year in my lease in my apartment. I just, paid it out. I moved back, and I ended up living in my friend's garage in the middle of the desert up in the hills.
That's
He has a nice
amazing.
home, and it was some little room he added on. And I just remember laying there going, what am I doing? What did I just do? Like no one's stopping me either. Just like, this is what he's got to do. And I was like, I just laid there and I was like, this is the worst decision I ever made in my life. So I ended up doing all the loading on for the hospital. I did all the blood work. I sat in what is that? When you first get hired on, that meeting. Anyway,
Like the onboarding?
Yeah, onboarding meeting. And then the guy calls me. He's like, all right, you want to put you on the schedule? And I said, I can't do it.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you talking? This guy like laid into me, like told me how bad of a person I was. I'm never going to get anywhere. You don't get to choose what kind of job and schedule you have. Like, I was like, whoa, I'm glad I didn't end up working with you.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I ended up getting a job back out here. I just started applying. Right when I had that epiphany, I was like, I'm going to start interviewing back here because, I kind of knew a little bit more out here. I didn't want to stay in California. And then I got a job and then finally like calmed down. But coming full circle, it was just a really bad manic episode. So I have like a major depressive disorder with mania on top of that.
Yeah.
Manic episodes. And I finally sat down and just like, I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
And I finally realized like, oh shit, this was the manic thing I choose to ignore when I was diagnosed. Like,
Sure.
this is the behavior that's gone on for years, moving constantly. Like, that's what feels comfortable. So I have to keep doing it. It's so unhealthy, but uprooting, got to keep doing it. That's like, I want to stay put for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. Awareness is key, man.
It's hard.
Like being able to experience something and just kind of reflect and see where you're at, and what you need at that moment, and stability. I mean, talking about traumas and things like that, right? Stability is something so important. And maybe, I look at sometimes my patterns, right? So as I mentioned, my work in mindset and performance and being able to discover specific habits and patterns that like myself have or other people have as I'm working with them through things, it's just, it's interesting how a lot of the way we behave is like a trauma response, right?
100%.
For me, it's like, this, I don't want the stability. What stability is, that's danger zone. I'm not going there,
Same.
because if I'm stable, I'm going to lose it all.
Yeah.
So if I prevent myself from getting stable, it took me a good minute to be like, oh, I am dating a person that's mentally healthy and stable and grounded, And at first I was so resistant to that,
Sure.
And so it's that being able to have that awareness of being like, okay, when I'm functioning in life, where is this coming from? Right. So stability is an important thing if that's something that's calling you at that time,
Yeah, it definitely did. And, I catch myself when I'm like I was like, uh-oh, here comes the manic. I go, nah, I got to do something else. So that's why I do cold plunges a lot.
I love it. I love that.
I mean, people are so annoyed that I talk about it. And I know cold plunges aren't anything new. It's been around forever. But I'm the first in like my group of friends and like family that's like really embedded into it.
That routine.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
Like I'm telling them, like, dude, like all that time I was depressed and anxious and all this.
Sure.
It's like almost gone.
I love that.
Yeah, it's weird. But I have to do it. It's like a total mental game. Like, because I did it this morning and the water's like 37 degrees. I was like, oh, man. And most people hit the sauna and then jump in.
Yeah.
Have that thermal layer.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, dude, I just sitting there staring at it. It's like, oh, man, you better get in. If you don't get in, you're not going to feel okay.
Yeah,
you
I
just
love
get
that.
in and you can feel your mind like you should get out.
Yeah.
You
Just
know?
give up while you can.
Yeah, and it's like, nope, I'm not going to give up. Nope. And I just found it like more and more you disconnect from like everything and you're just kind of like there. You're just like, wow, it's peace.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cold plunging, all of, that self-care routine and just doing, I mean, as I mentioned, these are the things that are so important for us to function and just taking care of ourselves first. It's so, so important so we can show up for other people so much better.
Yeah. And I totally get that now because I know when I didn't do it before, yeah, I just felt like just so like weak.
Yeah.
I felt like a pitiful loser, like just a weak human, weak-minded, everything, I got offended by everything,
Yeah.
And then I was like, I started reading like David Goggins. I'm like, damn, this guy's a crackhead. This guy is really out there like doing things that are very unconventional and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And like the more you go into his psyche is like, if he doesn't do it, he doesn't feel normal. I was like, maybe I got to do something that's just way far-fetched that my mind can't like control too much.
Yeah.
You get to control it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. So I just started doing it. I was like, damn, now I see why people go for it.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, discipline is...
That too. You discipline. All of
phenomenal.
Sorry.
It's really, really good. Yeah, I mean, it's all that stuff is just amazing how you can create. And once you realize that a lot of the things are a choice in our life and the way that we feel is a choice, right? I mean, obviously some of the stuff that you're talking about, it's like mental health, if you have bipolar, there's chemical imbalances that are happening, right?
So let me ask you on that with your nursing and your hypnotherapy, do you really think it's a chemical imbalance? I never understood like what chemical, like potassium.
So I don't work in psych.
Yeah.
That's
but you have
something I've never dabbled in.
You have a little bit more insight than I do.
So when it comes to hypnotherapy, so for example, if I were to work with a patient or like a client that has bipolar, usually, I am not a therapist. I focus on mindset and helping people reprogram specific habits, right? Or going back. So what I do is it's regression therapy. So I'm going back to specific events for example, if a person has money blocks, if a person has self-sabotage, procrastination, anxiety, anger, all of these things, right? When, as I mentioned, I am not specialized in mental health disorders. I usually, if a person is bipolar, and sometimes they're not taking medications, right? I sometimes they're going through those phases as you're talking about. Are we manic? Are we good? Where are we at? Right. And I feel like, people need to take care of themselves in that way. As I mentioned, I don't deal with mental health specifically. So if I were to work with somebody that has bipolar, I want them to be seeing a therapist specifically for that part, to have that support. And me bringing up, therapy and stuff, there's this really bad stigma that, therapy is bad and that there's something wrong with you if you get therapy, right? And that's not the case, right? It's just being able to find tools to support you in whatever it is that you need. And that's exactly what I do with hypnotherapy, right? So I teach people pattern interrupt techniques, how to, 80% of the thoughts that we have every day are negative thoughts, right?
Yeah,
so,
I would say so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if we begin to look at that part also, right? I am not a doctor that I have diagnosed anything. I don't know any of that particularly, but with that being said, right? If we are living and every day we wake up and 80% of our thoughts are negative and we replay those about 95% of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty negative mindset if you ask me, right? So what do we do in order to help people live a more positive life. So for me, as teaching people like pattern interrupt techniques, meditative techniques, so all of those things. So
Gotcha.
yeah. So when it comes to medications and diagnosis of bipolar and stuff like that, I'm not an expert in that. So I
Fair enough.
wouldn't want to say something that's not
I get you.
accurate in that sense.
So would you say I've been going say I'm a person just out there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going to therapy, and I just man, my therapist is not really kind of hit a wall.
Sure.
Do you come in where the wall is hit? Like you provide other avenues?
Yeah. So my focus is, for example, we're talking about being determined and having that drive, right? So if you're supposed to be doing something and you're not doing it, that's when you call me.
Oh.
Right? So it's, I think it's great to work together with specific therapists. There are some hypnotherapists that specialize in, specific techniques that are more based on more mental health. My focus is more on performance and mindset, right?
Okay. Fair.
But with that being said, I believe, and this is a personal belief, people will probably slaughter me for this.
That's just because they don't know.
I believe that hypnotherapy is more effective than talk therapy.
I don't disagree. My older brother, he talks to me about hypnotherapy all the time.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Dude, I've been this. I'm all, dude, come on. You really think that stuff works? But I've been hearing it more and more and more. Like a lot of people are really gravitating towards hypnotherapy, which we want to get into a little bit more, because I've done talk therapy.
Sure.
And I just man, I don't get anywhere with these folks.
Like
I just keep living my traumatic, sad ass story. I'm like, dude, I'm tired of talking about this.
Sure.
Can we rewire this somehow? And they're just write it down.
Yeah. Totally.
Go put it in a journal and then burn it, and then your life will be healed. I'm like, come on, man. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't. I've done it all.
Yeah.
With these guys and gals. And it's just and I even saw it I've sat in group therapy one time, and all I heard people do is I've been on this medication now. I gotta go try this medication now.
Yeah.
And other people were talking to each other, and it's oh, you should try this medication. I just sat there and listened. I'm like, you guys, I think you're missing the big point. Nothing's getting solved.
Sure.
And I know I'm not downing medication. It does help a lot of people.
Yeah.
But medication is always and has been a Band-Aid.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think what we lack a lot is the integration process of what, when we're trying to reprogram our subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind, you can think of it as all your habits, your beliefs, your emotions, your memories, right? And that's about 90 to 95% of your brain function is your subconscious mind. And then you have your critical mind, which is, 5 to 10% of your brain function, right? Right now, we're talking at a critical level, right?
We're at that 5%.
Yeah. And we need that, right? But
yes.
All of the other functioning, everything else that's going on, we do it at a subconscious level and we don't even notice it, right? And so it's really interesting when we can start going back to specific events and realizing, our parents are one of our number one subconscious programmers, right? The environment that you grow up in, right? And not to get into, generational trauma and epigenetics and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting because and like how I said, this is me not bashing on talk therapy, because I think there's a place for everything,
Absolutely.
right? I feel the same thing with medication. Do I strongly believe that now we live in a world where it's more of a Band-Aid? Then actually, how do we solve like what's underneath, right? And this
Yeah.
is one of the biggest issues I had with healthcare. And that's, not just my well-being. I was like, there's a link missing here. We're
Yeah.
missing something, right? And so if I can talk to a person and help them discover specific things, that for me is a win.
Yeah.
Right. And so going back to specific events in our life that have programmed a way of thinking, right? When it comes to thinking we're not lovable, thinking we're not worthy of money, right? Or just this constant money blocks, like people living in like such scarcity. And it's like, why? And I'm like, do you listen what's coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
This is why you don't make money. This is why you're not doing this. This is why,
Yeah.
right? And so being able to help people like realize the language and their narrative that they're already creating for themselves, right? So it's just very interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I see some folks where like they're like, "Oh man, my blood work is all over the wall." I'm like, "Has anybody talked about how you eat? Like you weigh like 3 times as me
Yeah.
and we're the same height. Like let's start there." And nobody starts there anymore. It's
Sure.
like, "Here, let's do a CT scan and not give you nothing's wrong."
Sure.
And that's what I understand doctors, they're obligated the moment person walks in the door, they have to do something. They just can't say, "Well, just go home and wait it out."
Yeah.
The patient comes in there, they want something done. Fair enough. But that link that they're missing is like everything you're talking about. Like how much water are you taking in, how you sleeping, like
Yeah.
how's your mental health, like
Totally.
like just like when you take vitals, like they're not going the basics anymore. It's like, well, your blood pressure's skyrocket. Here you go. Here's this prescription.
Yeah.
That'll fix you. They come back a week later. Man, my heart just won't. It's still up there.
Yeah.
And it's just, and even to healthcare workers, we don't. I try my damnedest to take care of myself with what time I have. Eat as best I can. I do my fair part.
But that's also a problem because we talk about when we're going into work, right?
Yeah.
And for healthcare workers, when you're trying to have your lunch, do you even have a lunch? Like, let's be real here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what
30
is that?
minutes
Or
is
just
ridiculous.
like, and you're literally eating standing, it's like just, so it's like there you go. Another way that we're not digesting our food properly.
Yeah.
Right? We're not like mindfully eating. Like that mindfulness is out the window. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even healthcare workers, you don't get what you need. I always talk about this at work. I was like, man, I wish every hospital, every facility had a gym for everybody.
Yeah.
Had the best of the best gym, had the sauna, had a nutritionist, had the healthiest food you can think of. And you can go there before you start your shift. You go there after. Can decompress the right way, sit in the sauna for like ever, go home, fall asleep.
Totally. I saw on, I don't know, it's a post on Instagram about this hospital, I think I don't know if it's in a Scandinavian country, probably a Scandinavian country, I'm going to guess.
They're pretty good over there.
But, the guy's just like, so he works there and he also works here in the United States and he kind of shows the differences, but he's out there, scans his badge and he opens a locker with full of scrubs and then he scans his badge again and it's this really nice showers and then he scans again and it's this really nice kitchen with like actual real coffee and food and you're like, what, where, I'm like, sign me up for that.
Yeah. And, I talk about it all the time. I know, the United States preaches it wrong. There's like patients first, patients first, patients first. Don't get me wrong. They are very important. But like you said, if we're not coming in there, in our right mind, the patient isn't going to be first.
Yeah.
If we're not first, the patient's not first. And I talk about this all the time at work. I was like, dude, they need to turn this narrative of like patients come first. It's like,
it's interesting.
It's just wild.
I just remember in nursing school there, we had like two or three classes about burnout and self-care and all of these things. And I'm like, are you guys showing this to people that actually don't work in healthcare right now? I was like a tech at that moment, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, this is a goddamn joke.
Yeah.
Like, no, the system, the hospital doesn't put anything in place really for anybody to be taken care of the way that they should,
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I think I saw more burnout in 2019 than ever. It's just people that been like nurses for decades just said, I'm out. I'm done.
Which is the worst, because those are the good nurses. Those are the people that we need.
Those are the people we need to learn from.
Yeah.
And they just scooted out. And now you see healthcare is just falling behind.
Yeah.
And trying to fill all these spots. And I don't think, honestly, it'll ever catch up. I think people caught on to like, dude, they're going to treat you and you have to work crazy hours.
Yeah.
Never see your family. You don't take care of yourself. They feed you pizza,
Always pizza parties, taking that with me in my heart.
Oh man. Every time I saw them, what a joke. This is how much we're worth to this whole idea is some slices of pizza.
I mean, if you get lucky, you might get some Cafe Rio, bro.
Oh my God, that's even worse. That's the worst food ever.
Yeah.
Oh man, no. Well, going back to the hypno, what, like, have you ever like had an individual where it doesn't work? Like, do you put them in like a dream state? How does it work?
Okay, so there are a lot of misconceptions about what hypnotherapy is due to stage hypnosis, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm getting it from. To be honest, I'm like, well, you must. You think they're a chicken and they're naked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me describe a little bit how the process of it works. So I would describe it as like talking meditation, right? So we are allowing our mind and body to relax to a theta brainwave state. So delta is where you're fully asleep. We're above that, right?
Oh.
But what's really interesting is that this is a part where you are hyper focused and aware. So your senses, everything is very, very hyper focused and aware, right? So there is no loss of consciousness. You are not saying things that, like, people are like, oh my gosh, am I going to say something I don't want them to know?
Sure,
so people are
sure.
really fearful because they think that that I would manipulate the other person, but you would never do anything that's, goes against your morals or values or anything like that. So if I were to try to suggest things that were ridiculous, you could literally open your eyes and walk out and be like, this person's crazy.
Gotcha.
Right? So how I would describe it is, what the sessions look like is, we are allowing the mind and body to deeply relax. So I'm going to bore you with my voice. That's the way I like to describe it. I'm just going to talk and bore you with my voice, and then you're going to be super relaxed. And then there are different techniques and different things that we do under hypnosis, but the main focus of what I like to do is regression therapy. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're struggling with anxiety, which anxiety is a huge one. Anxiety is a learned behavior. Okay. So if we can go back to that moment where you first experienced that anxiety, right? Because that's what happens, is your subconscious mind reprograms this specific event as an anxiety, and then it becomes something that's recurring, right? And then the person begins to identify with the anxiety and says, I'm an anxious person, right? And so people label their experience, and then they become their experience, right?
Wow.
And so if we can go back to a specific event and see what made you fearful, what made you anxious, right? And start reframing, right? Because your perspective as that 4-year-old, right, that it's experiencing that event, you can reframe that in a different way and allow that child to kind of release that energy and calm that child down and kind of let go of, traumatic situations or specific things, whatever it is that caused us to do something, feel what we're feeling right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's, like, as I mentioned, there's never loss of control. We're just going back to memories. We do a lot of visualization as well. And kind of the mind is a beautiful thing because you can literally, I mean, I talk a lot about this, about neuroplasticity and being able to change our brain's chemistry and its structure based on the way that we think. So a person that's thinking negative, right? Our cortisol levels are super high and you just live on this fight or flight, which is our survival brain. So one thing that I want to say about that is that we need to understand that your survival brain, the subconscious part of our brain, this anxiety, this stress, this fear, this sadness served a purpose in its life at some point. It protected you from something, right? Yeah. But as adults, that doesn't work for us anymore. It doesn't work to be anxious, right? So for example, a person that doesn't speak up, maybe they didn't speak up because they were abused as children, right? Their dad was very abusive. So if they spoke up, they knew that something might happen to them, right? So as an adult, that programming doesn't work anymore, right? Because then you can't talk to people. Then you're shy. Then you're, thinking you're not good enough. And the rabbit hole goes.
Oh yeah, it digs deep.
Very, very
Here it
deep.
comes. Get an extra shovel for me too.
Yeah. So with back to the neuroplasticity and the chemistry of the brain, just by closing your eyes and just relaxing your body and just thinking about positive things, even if it's not real, right? Just thinking about performing really well on stage, or, if you have public speaking fear, just doing those things releases dopamine and it makes you feel good, right? And so understanding that we have a choice on how we kind of change a little bit that chemistry in our bodies to feel good, right? Yeah. So, and then our neural pathways, the more negative you think, that neural pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So it takes a while sometimes for people that are extremely negative to just be like, wake up, man, wake up, And so, because then every time you interrupt, and that's a thing that I teach my clients, is pattern interrupt techniques to realize when they're spiraling out of control into a negative thought, to be like, hey, stop for a second. I'll teach you a technique, and then you're going to do that as many times as possible. So what that does is stops that neural pathway from firing, that negative one. Gotcha. And you're creating a new neural pathway that it's more positive, right?
Wow.
I mean, neuroplasticity in the brain is just fascinating. It's fascinating.
There's some truth to that. I'm sure there's plenty of truth to that, but I remember going to the doctor not too long ago, just like could not, like, I was just in a lot of pain, just anxious. I was like, look, man, I don't know what's going on. I think I have like some autoimmune disorder. Sure. Everything hurts. My joints hurt. Like he finally just sat down. He's like, you know what it is, right? I was like, no, man, what is it? He's all, it's right here, dude. He's like, yeah, your body's going to hurt just because, aches and pains through time. But like what you're describing is like, it's all here. Yeah. Like, he's like, I've been seeing you for a year coming in and out of here. And I just noticed like, you're not taken care of. He's like, you stopped doing like your cold plunges. What's going on? Yeah. Because when I was doing those, I was unstoppable. Yeah. Nothing bothered me. And then I sold my old one, and I had to wait 2 months for this new one I got. Yeah. But that 2 months, I was like, oh my God, like, where's this all coming from? Sure. And I just wasn't, like you said, I wasn't doing like meditation. Yeah. That was my meditation. Yeah, that was my cutoff. Totally. Like, that cut it all off. And like there's that what you were saying, neural
pathways, like the neuroplasticity, being able to change your brain. Yeah.
Yeah, all like that releasing that dopamine that I get from it, and just like feeling good about myself. Yeah. Like it just went away. Yeah. I was like, oh. Yeah. Never again.
And and then like being able to kind of go deeper into that, like that physical pain, right? Yeah. That somatic like storage of sensations. Why is that coming up, right? Like the body, everybody hears the book, The Body Keeps the Score, trauma stored in the body over and over, so there's a truth to the body is wise. And if you're experiencing physical pains or things like that, it's kind of, and it's fun with hypnotherapy because you can kind of be like, okay, there's an underlying reason as to why your body hurts. Why is that
Yeah.
hurting? Where's this hurt coming from? Right? It's representing physically, right? But what is that? Where's that coming from?
Yeah. I know for me, like, I mean, my body still hurts like crazy, but it's not nothing that I can't handle now.
Mm-hmm.
It used to just like deteriorate me.
Sure.
You know, I just lay in bed. It's like, oh man, I can't move.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to show me this amazing cold plunge after this.
I know. I keep
I
going back to it. It's just like I wish more people would like go for it.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
there's a huge community, people that are way into biohacking
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just, a lot of the people that we work with are, very wealthy people that have their saunas and their cold plunges and their
Yeah,
red
yeah.
light therapy and all of these things,
Jealous of all
and
that.
it's amazing, So, but you can start with little things, of changing specific routines and habits. I'm like very particular about, if I meditate at night, the morning, what time I'm going to bed, just trying to be very mindful of the way I live. And I can tell when I'm off. It's
Yeah.
easy to tell when we're like not functioning at our highest level,
Yeah.
right?
100%. So with your hypnotherapy, have you had some people where it's like a huge like wake up? All of a sudden there's like, I fixed it. Or
So,
is it just like
I
super
mean,
gradual?
I
Like,
don't like to say I fix it. I think people do that work on their own.
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just more of like I want to assist and guide people on seeing things that maybe, it's kind of something that maybe you're doing that you're not noticing. Right? But I usually tell people, you're not hiring me to just agree with you. You're hiring me to
Right.
tell you, hey, this is clearly not working, right? So what do you need to do to change? If like just showing people, if you're a procrastinator and your business is struggling, so I deal a lot with people in e-commerce, drop ship, a lot of people that are just starting new businesses. And there's a lot of, with hypnotherapy, we work a lot of under fear, imposter syndrome, just, fear of failure,
Sure.
a lot of things like that. So being able to tell people, if you're sabotaging or you're procrastinating, calling people or sending those emails, I'm going to tell you, and we're going to look under hypnosis. Why are you not doing what you need to do? You have to do this. And why are you not doing it? Right. So those people get to kind of face the things that they should be doing and are not doing. So it's kind of fun. So I really do enjoy being able to see people kind of take charge and begin to change specific things about their routines, and then noticing, oh yeah, I actually am making more money because I'm creating this congruence between my thoughts and what money means. Sometimes people think that, people that are rich are not spiritual, that having a lot of money is dirty, right? So it's like, how do we start reframing these things that are preventing you from being successful?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with social media. Like you just said, like being successful. Oh, you're better than me. You think you're better than me? It's like, well, no. I understand if I don't go this route, I don't want to be working at like McDonald's for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
No offense to the people at McDonald's, but McDonald's should be a stepping stone.
Sure.
Something much, much better for yourself.
Sure.
And, I think just social media just dumps on anybody who's successful, rich.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they live in a beachfront property. It's like, yeah, but there's hard work behind the scenes to all that. Some do inherit it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the majority of folks really have to go for it.
Yeah. No, totally, for sure.
I
I just think that we limit ourselves so much as to what we can achieve in life. And all of that is based on our programming. Our subconscious programming will fucking rule your life. if
Yeah.
you don't decide to change specific things. For example, I do have a lot of clients that are very successful, but they struggle with the fact that they grew up in poor homes, right? So now that they're successful,
They feel guilty.
yeah, and then the
Yeah.
way that they manage the money and the things that they do, it's like, dude, you can make millions more if you stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's just really, really empowering for them to be able to be like, hey, this experience, this generational trauma of having to feel that everything has to be so hard, and you're not successful if you're not grinding every
Right.
single day and shedding blood, like
Yeah.
tears, I'm like, something doesn't have to be difficult to be effective. And when I heard that, I was like, damn.
That's so true. You always hear the folks like, you got to work 20 hours a day
Yeah.
to be like top notch. It's like, nah, man, you could spread that out and slowly like get there. Like, you don't have to burn yourself out, right away.
Totally.
You could set it up right. It's just going to take longer, but that's okay. Like, yeah, it's so wild how, I self-sabotage all the time.
We all do.
Yeah.
We
Like,
all
oh,
do.
dude, you can't do a podcast. You can't do this. Like, no one's going to listen to your shit. Like, no one cares. I'm all, yeah, but that shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
This is like, if no one listens to this, it's like, man, but that conversation I had,
Yeah.
I get to tell everybody I get
It was good. Get to know somebody, get to
Yeah.
experience. Yeah, 100%. And one of the biggest things too, it's in when we do the uncomfortable, we experience the most growth.
Yep.
Right. And so for me, like I had a client a couple weeks ago. He's like, how do you keep your shit together so well? And I said,
You see my husband's picture back there?
I said, bro, you got it all wrong. I was like, I wake up and have to do the same things that I'm telling you to do. I have to see, where am I sabotaging in my life? I have to show up for myself the way that I want you to show up for yourself, right? That it's like, there's this, in the self-development community, people are selling this secret, trying to make it seem like something is not attainable to you. And it really rubs me the wrong way, right? Because it leaves people thinking, I'm stuck here. I'm not good enough. Like I can't do this, And I just want people to just tap into just doing the inner work is what you need to do. There's no secret recipe.
Yeah.
There's no like $1 million secret. Like all you have to do is go inward and see what's going on with myself internally. And then you start to heal. And guess what? The process of healing is eternal until we die.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when people are like, how do you know? It's just tools that you find along the way. And you start implementing more and more and more things to help you, learn how to, regulate your nervous system instead of just,
full on.
How do I, how do I find that balance? How do I get grounded, But
Yeah.
that means I still have to do the work every single day. All of us do,
I totally, man, I wish more people saw it like you. It took me a while to get to how you go about things. Like, it started with, I was like, I want to start reading more. It just hit like for some reason.
Yeah.
But I was like, I want to read about like military personnel. I've always been drawn to the military. So I read like Tim Kennedy's book. I was like, man, that's a good book. Then I read both David Goggins' book. I'm like, these are just normal dudes that like do really, really hard stuff. And they seem like very satisfied. And like you said, it's not a secret.
No.
It's right there in front of you. But it's like a lot of people don't want to do uncomfortable things.
And that's exactly what you're saying is what I try to help people discover is why are we not doing that, right? And why are we uncomfortable, right? The fear, right? It's a lot easier for us to sit where we're comfortable because, and that's once again, is a subconscious programming, right?
Yeah.
Because that's an unknown territory. I'm not going there. I'm not going to an unknown territory. I'd rather sit in misery because I know what this feels like.
Yeah, it's safe there.
It's safe. This is the good spot, right?
Yep.
And so that's why it's so hard for people to just be like, I'm going to try this and I'm going to do that. And that's why people struggle so much with self-confidence. And it's like, we don't know this territory. We don't know what can happen. But that's the beauty about being able to dream and want to do things and take risks and get like comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because the universe starts opening up so many other opportunities and the gifts are endless.
Yeah.
You know, I told myself the way that I wanted to live my life was that if an opportunity came by, I was not going to say no. So I've struggled with public speaking issues. I get in my head and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I just said,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh-oh.
And so I've been doing hypnotherapy for that to kind of work through that, right? And then this year I did my first event where I spoke in front of people and, you know,
Hey,
I
congratulations.
chose, thank you.
That's awesome.
Just choosing to start doing those things, even though for me it was like, I think I'm going to die by
For
doing
sure.
this. The fact that I did that starts letting your subconscious know that it is safe to do so, that you're okay. And that it's like, okay, somebody rejects you, somebody loves you, somebody, great.
Yeah.
Both of it. I'll take it. Opportunity for growth, you know?
I mean, I feel like anybody who meets you and the story that you have, it should be pretty like, all right, this is impressive shit. I can go out and do great stuff too. Cause I mean, let's look at your story. Come from Chile, then you moved here, became a nurse, learned English, speak very well. I'm sure you speak. What's the native?
I could speak better, but you know,
No,
I'm a Spanish speaker.
Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, you have a second language behind you. You're well educated. You started your own company. Like, if nobody looks at that and goes, "Damn," I mean, come on.
I think it's honestly, and it's just, I just wish people could see their value and their worth. Sometimes I'm sitting there talking with clients and it just like wrecks me inside because I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I even tell them, if you could see what I see in you, it's like amazing, right? And also respecting timing too, right? Like I was, when I met you, as I mentioned, I was in a pretty dark spot in my life.
I could never tell either, though. Meeting you, you're just so like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?" You know.
Yeah, those are called coping mechanisms.
Obviously, you know, we're all good at hiding how we really feel.
Yep.
You know, but you know, I have a lot of respect for what you did and what you're doing now, is because you could have easily thrown in the towel and been like, we all could have,
Sure.
and just been like, yeah, you know, it was too hard,
Sure.
and we probably would have regretted that, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I just think that, you know, and there's those cliches that we always hear that it's like, you know, no matter where you come from, you can do whatever you want to do, you know. Yeah, there's definitely like culturally, you know, I do come from a third world country and opportunities are different and things are very different. So, but understanding that with our minds, you know, not to put a value on money, right? Like, let's forget about money for a second, because I know that sometimes we measure a lot of our success based on money, mostly in the United States, right?
Yeah, it's very a United States thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
So if we put that aside, you know, that if you can find a way to just broaden your view in the reality that you're living and seeing that not everything is as bad as we seem as it is, right? And taking charge and like giving yourself that power. If something in that life is causing you sadness, causing you pain, causing negative emotions, you can choose to change that.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just having that broader perspective about you're never stuck, right? And so what choices do you need to make to kind of create at least a safe environment, a happy environment, right? For me, when I met you, I was in a group of people that didn't love me. I was so judged by who I was as a person.
Really?
And
Man.
I was, I felt there was something wrong with me. I was like, oh, I don't party enough. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that, And then I started second guessing. I'm like, oh my gosh, is there something really wrong with me? And then you get out of that environment and then you're with people that love you and you're like, damn, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes we're in places where we just have to just see, is this serving me? Are these people serving me? Is this job serving me? Right. And this is what I ask myself every day. If this is serving me, then great. I'm going to go full force. If it's not, bye.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. The more and more I get older, that's a realization, even with people, like people like, man, I got to get rid of you. You're too toxic. You take me down to, the slums with you. I don't want to go there no more. I'm not better than you. We're not a good fit anymore.
Yeah.
And, I lost, I got maybe like 5 solid people.
That's all. Sometimes that's all you need. It's like you just need good people that support you, that love you, and that show up.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it's just do I fit? If it doesn't fit for me, do I keep going for it? But it seems like you got a good hold on everything now. You're out there running trails, climbing rocks. I'm like, man, this chick's busy,
Well,
just going for it.
It's funny because
always moving.
My breakup led me to, completely the opposite. Some people drink their life away. Some people start doing drugs. And,
sure. Yeah.
The death of my grandma, she was my soulmate, and her passing, and then literally a few months later going through this breakup. And for me, it was completely the opposite. It was like, I just wanted to run, and I was just like trying so hard to just get rid of this pain through like physical activity. And then I amazingly met my husband, who's like an amazing athlete. Does ultra marathons, he was a power lifter, bodybuilder in college. So it was just like our energies just collided, and now we just love doing things. I mean, he helped me run my first ultra marathon
congratulations.
a couple of years ago. Thank you.
When you met him, you're like, what's up?
Well,
what's up, tall guy?
He's a good looking guy,
Handsome fella. You guys are a beautiful couple.
Oh, thank you.
I don't mean that in like a weird,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You guys are a good fit. I haven't met him, but from, it looks like you guys light each other's world up.
Yeah, he's a good soul. That's what I mean. It's like sometimes it takes a while to see what's on the other side and choosing, so here's the thing, that a couple of the things that I've learned is that every person that's going to come into your life, it's going to teach you something, right? And instead of hating on the people we've met, or, the partners that we've lost, or who's done us wrong, for me, it's been, what did that person teach me about myself? And with my last relationship and this group of people, I realized that my self-worth was so low that I was willing to put up with things that weren't healthy for me. And, in the midst of it, you're not seeing that. You're like, I need this person. Don't leave me, and full panic.
Yeah.
Full panic, right? Those like abandonment wounds, all that trauma just coming out. Don't leave me. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, right? Yep. And then as soon as you step away and life starts to shift and you start calling like the positive things into your life, I was like, damn, okay, that's what I needed to learn from that relationship, is how do you show up and how do you truly love yourself? I had really low self-esteem and that's what that person taught me, right? And so every person that we encounter, if things go well or if they don't go well, what is there for me to learn about myself from that situation?
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a while to get there. Maturity, to get to that maturity level, it takes a while. It took me a long time.
Sometimes we choose not to, right? Like you're like, I
Yeah,
just don't care. I'm gonna live
yeah,
in this misery. Just leave me here.
yeah. I mean, and we go back to the COVID thing. That really did open my eyes to like what I needed to handle. I needed to handle my manic. Boy, do I still got a lot of trauma from childhood? 100%. Never gonna go
We
away.
all do, you know.
But I just knew I needed to do something. Something needed to change, and like it took a while to get to that maturity.
Sure.
And like just like you, like, oh man, I don't have any self-worth. And I finally got to a point like, man, I don't really. I'm gonna go do where people are just like, what? Why are you doing that? It's like, you want to come try?
Yeah.
It's like, nah, man, I don't want to get. I don't want to do that. That's weird. But I know I keep going back to it, and it is probably so annoying for people. But doing that cold water stuff, and last year I did it to where I had it outside, and I would endure the elements in the morning because I do it in the morning.
Yeah.
And now I do it on my days off, morning and night. If I get out there, it'd be snowing. I'm like, God, what am I doing out here? It's like 20 degrees, and this is like, 37-degree water.
Yeah.
And I would jump in that thing and like, wow, look at the snow.
Yeah,
And
totally.
You almost forget you're in there.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's like finding these things that feel good. So, for example, my husband and I love going on night hikes where there's no one there. And, there's just specific things that fill your soul and help your mind. And whatever that is people just got to find what works for them. There are so many resources, so many tools, so many things that we can use to kind of work on all of that, right?
Yeah.
And with what you were saying, I just wanted you to remind you that we're all humans living the human experience, right?
Yeah, we're all in it. We want to act like we're all different, but man, we're all in it.
And so, sometimes we don't have enough compassion or grace with ourselves about, our experience and what we're going through, and so it doesn't matter, if we had an awakening 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, a couple months ago, right? We're all just trying to find our happiness, and we're all trying to navigate life the best way that we can, right? And so having grace with yourself, because I think it's awesome. Like I'm glad you're doing good, and
I'm doing better.
Yeah,
Man,
that's good.
I mean, I'm probably sure a lot of people felt the same way. I was like, man, I'm going to do myself in. Here it is. Here it comes down to this point. I was like, man, this is a scary feeling.
Yeah.
Never again. And now my routine is I try to take it a step further. I'll get up, do the cold plunge. I'll work out. I hit the sauna. And then I come back, and then I know I already said that, but now after work, I'll come home and I'll do that.
I love that.
I'll go sit in that cold water. I'm like, why am I doing? Well, and then like, it's because I know not doing it now, like working so much like I am, I know the effect that's going to do if I don't do this.
Because you know how you feel if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always tell my coworkers, like, dude, we're so tired of hearing about this. I'm like, why don't you just come try it? Like, I'm
cold plunge king.
I'm telling you, like, I wish I've always, my dream is to start a facility out here, because there's not one that's like really available. It's just simply cold and hot therapy. I mean, open not 24/7, but like open for anybody who just needs that to wind down or wind up.
Yeah, well, maybe here's your future. You're out. You're out.
That's my out. That's what I want to do.
Let's go.
It's there. It's really not that expensive to start, but I know for me, like, I got to put some finances away to start it. I'm not quite there yet.
Just gotta get some investors.
Yeah, it's there though. You could see like the people want something more like that. Kind of like with you, they just talk therapy. What else is out there?
Sure.
And then they stumble upon you. It's like, dang, here it is. I think people are tired of taking like medications and like, do something a little bit challenging, and you see like, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, I definitely do feel that when people reach out for hypnotherapy, is that they've reached a pretty like bottom,
Yeah.
the bottom, you know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they need something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's hard with therapy too, is like trying to find a therapist. I feel like I spent more time running in circles trying to find therapy than actually getting anything
Yeah,
done, you know?
it's so true.
It's just, there needs to be an easier way to find it, I feel. It shouldn't be so expensive. I know everybody needs to make money, understandable. But it's, like you said, we preach this stuff, but yet it costs.
Yeah.
Nobody can really afford it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep going. Like a lot of it's kind of inconvenient timing wise.
Yeah.
Most of it is just they need you right then and there.
Sure.
It's kind of sudden. You know, like, oh, a month out. Like, dude, I need you like right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that, you know, with my clients is, you know, they have my cell phone number, they have my email, and, you know, it's support throughout the entire time that we're working together. Obviously, I don't tell people, I'm like, okay, you can't be texting me every single day, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you
Try to
know,
work
for
through it.
me, I'm like, I want you to text me in like 4 to 5 days, 7 days. Let me know how are you doing after the session? Do you feel better? What's coming up, right? I want to know those things because I want people to feel supported, right? Because in therapy, it's very like, okay, you go one time and then hopefully you get in for maybe a month, 2 months down the road, you know? So there's not, like, as I mentioned, for me, the connection that I have with my clients and being able to really support them in whatever it is that they're going through is super profound and super fulfilling.
Man, that's good that you do that. That's awesome.
I just had to go through, you know, art school, massage school, and then become a nurse, and then,
And then
just
move to
kidding.
the United States, you know?
I
You're like a
honestly,
wildlife.
I'm of service, man. If I can, you know, when you think about, you know, for whoever thinks about their life's purpose, just think about what you gravitate to. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, all the things that I normally pick to do usually have something to do with taking care of another human being, either mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You know, it's like, okay, that's my calling. I give up. Like, that's what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah, stop fighting it. Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
it's
you,
like, okay,
stop
what am I
fighting
going to do now, you know?
I think that's great. I just I've always been a fan of you in a very like just from human to human. It's just so impressive.
You're
Like
so nice. Thank you.
I'm you know how you have your calling in life? Like I just feel like my calling is just to meet like phenomenal people.
I love that.
You
That's
know?
so good.
If you go like all my other podcasts, I mean, there's my brother and I. We just we joke around on here, but he's an amazing person
Yeah.
too. Not just because he's my brother, but his story. I sit back. I mean, we grew up in the same household, but you know, he went and did his thing and had to go through his stuff. I'm just like, dude, I could never go through that.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
You know. And just all the people I meet, I'm like, why do I keep like? It's just so humbling. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
Really am. And I got to do a podcast with my grandma. Like
Oh,
I don't know
I love that.
too many kids who get to sit with their grandma and just be like, dang, grandma, even you got a story that's just like, huh?
Totally.
So it's just I appreciate you coming.
No, thank you.
And, like,
Thank you
chatting with me.
for having me. It's really fun to, you know, also you are creating this environment to bring people and get to know people. And so you're creating that, you know, we're just coming along for the ride.
Well, I appreciate you coming. It is hard to get people on here and like open
I know we've been trying for like 3 years.
Yeah. But you know, respect, you know, I never
Timing. I'm telling you, timing is everything.
And
3 years ago, you would have been like, "Oh boy,
yeah,
what's
we
happening
had a whole
here?"
different conversation. It would have been like, oh man, I'm just like not feeling it. But you know, yeah, that's a perfect example. Timing, like I got you. You went through all of this, and I'm here now, and it's like I'm at where I need to be, and I get to share it
For sure.
and it's super cool. And I hope people like who listen or just start talking to people. Like I have a coworker. He's from Bosnia, fought in the war, and I'm just like, dude, what what was it like? And just like, same thing. He came here, didn't know any English. This is where I have a hard time with people being like lazy and not like, oh, the world's against me. This dude came from a war-torn country.
Yeah.
Learned English, learned physics to become an X-ray tech. Like, that's not an easy program, and got through it.
That's amazing.
It's successful. He doesn't care about anything. That's why I love this guy. I mean, he cares about people, but like nothing like, dude, what are you worried about? Dude, come on. Enjoy your life, bro.
It's like, you have no idea. You have no idea.
And he shared stories with me about like fighting in the war. And like, I'm like, dude, I feel like such a coward when I listen to your story. It's like so humbling. Like, I have no room to complain. I shouldn't. And same with you. Like, when I hear your story, I was like, dude, I have no reason to complain.
Yeah, but you also gotta you just, like, as I mentioned, we're all human living the human experience, and that, your experience, your traumas, your life experiences that you've had are valid. And don't let anybody take that away, because that's a thing that I don't like, when we just say to ourselves, oh, well, my upbringing wasn't as bad. And then it's like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. You're still an individual person that is trying to live a day to day with those wounds, right?
Yeah, fair.
And so just remembering that those, no matter what it is, those situations are valid, I mean, going back to a memory of your, 5 years old, and in school your teacher is telling you colored something wrong, and then you developed all of these issues because of that.
You went colorblind.
Yeah, right. That might seem something so silly, right? But in that moment, for that younger person, that 5-year-old, that was a big deal.
Yeah, that's so true. I know my childhood was like just chaos, just like surgeries after surgeries after surgeries. Just
And that is
trauma.
so much, that there's so much to, with our bodies, and that, like, mentally being able to, what the hell's happening here?
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, and I always try to tell people like what's going on like in like the Middle East right now with that situation, just seeing like kids suffer.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, you know what? I know exactly how that feels. And people are like, dude, you're not even there. You don't know what it's like to wake up to like bombs and blowing up. I was like, I know what it's like to be in pain.
Yeah.
I was born into pain.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying, like why it's like starting to like show itself. Because,
Yeah.
when you're a kid, you just like, why am I, having, for those who don't know, I don't know if you know either. I had a cleft lip and palate when I was born.
We talked about it a while back, yeah.
So like sometimes it's one and done surgery, like, but mine was just so like complex. It was like, well, okay, the first quarter of my life was surgeries, being put to sleep and waking up. What's going on here?
Yeah, for sure.
I later on in life, I still think all that like anesthesia is starting to creep back up. I'm like, dude, that couldn't have been healthy. Starting at 18 months.
Yeah.
Just being put to sleep every year. I mean, maybe once or twice a year, I would have a surgery.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, that physical trauma, and as a child not being able to understand what is happening, that, subconsciously is a lot. And then, because then you're thinking, why are they doing this to me? What does this mean? Right. And so that's a lot.
Yeah. A lot of people don't get it, and I'm not expecting them to get it, but it's like, I get why, like, I feel for like people. Like, dude, I know exactly what that feels like to be scared, unsure. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Everybody else seems to be pretty good around me. Why do I feel like the oddball? Like, dude, I just totally like, I get it. And I feel you're probably trying to figure this out right now. Listen to me. I just feel so guilty. Like, if I don't do enough in life for all those people who helped me look the way I did, the best they could, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice if I'm not like overly successful at everything. Cause like, it would just be just unfair if I just threw this life away. Like, whatever. Dude, all those people that worked hard on you, just, whatever. What's it for?
Yeah.
And I just, I don't know what that is. I don't know if I need to let that go because it's been my driver.
Call me. Let's do a hypno on it.
Man, I probably need something because I've been trying to find therapy and I'm just so like bogged down of trying to find. But
yeah. I mean, I do all my calls online, so it makes it really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I need to let that go or if I just need to find like peace with that.
Yeah, sure.
And be like, dude, it's okay, dude. Like, you're not gonna nail everything. You know, you're gonna mess up over there. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, there's so many reasons as to why we. I mean, sorry, this just like for me, it's just like I just know that everything has a root cause. Right. So
I know what mine are. I don't hide it anymore. I'll tell everybody, you know where this is coming from right now, right? And I'll give them my whole story. They're just like, oh, man.
yeah, for
it's like,
sure.
well, yeah, dude, I used to hide all that.
Yeah.
I used to just like, nah, dude, no one wants to hear your sad ass story. No one wants to hear about your problems. I was like, well, it's not really my problems, but it is like why I feel the way I feel about a lot of things. You know, you may treat a certain person bad, but it's like, dude, when I see somebody like suffering across the world, it's like, dude, that hurts. Most people are like,
yeah,
it hasn't hit me
totally.
yet.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up too, because it can go multiple ways, right? So somebody that's experienced a lot of hurt in their life can also behave by creating hurt, right?
True.
And so it's interesting the way the dynamics of how things can just steer in different ways. And that's, as I mentioned, that's kind of the things that we're looking at. What are your habits? What are your behaviors, right? What are you like, you know, because that trauma response of having to be perfect, right? Where's that coming from, right? The wanting to be perfect, that's great, but that's particularly not good, right? You don't need to be perfect, right? That thought of I have to be perfect, right? So there's the being perfect is the behavior, but there's an underlying situation as to why we do this behavior of trying to be perfect, right? Of I'm a huge people pleaser, right? And when I had to start learning how to begin to set boundaries and how to, you know, be very mindful and what is my intent when I'm doing something, right? Am I doing it because I don't want to be rejected? So when you catch yourself in the actions, it's the like mind-blowing part. When I'm like about to do something, I'm like, is that people pleaser kicking in? Or is that you really?
Hey, you.
You know, it's like, and so it's like developing that awareness that you can start to be like, okay, I'm actually not going to, I'm going to choose not to do that. Because even though showing up for people and being there, it's so good, right? But I'm not doing it because of the right reason, right? So when you start being able to notice things, you know, I'm a huge hyperachiever, right? I define my success by how much I achieve, right? And so being able to work on that my worth is not based on how successful I am, how many degrees I have, right?
Yeah.
That's shit.
Yeah. I mean,
But I've done it for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So begin to identify, why am I doing this?
I think it's time for some hypno. You know, I know I did ask to do that with you one time. And then I don't know what happened. I think I got busy.
Yeah, I mean, I know we did a call and then we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that you were going through, but getting busy, self-sabotage.
Yeah. I'm the master at all of it. Everything that you talked about, self-sabotage, guilt, like everything, I am all of those things. 100%. But I think for me, when I would go to therapy, this is how bad I was with talk therapists. I would go there to try to outdo them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Well, I'm like, let me see if I could just outsmart them.
Sure.
And I would eventually get them to start talking about themselves. I was like, see, I got you. I don't know what that is. I don't know where that comes from either. But I was like, dude, these guys are never going to. I think it's because I don't want anybody to fix me.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said,
Yeah,
definitely tons of stuff we can talk about when it comes to, the way that we're behaving and these thought patterns that we're having. And, awareness is, the key, that mindfulness and being aware of what we're doing and beginning to identify when we're doing a specific behavior. So a lot of people, we live our lives just on autopilot. And we don't question, is this right? Is this real? Is this good? Right?
Yeah.
So right now you and I are sitting in this room, right? But your perception, now we're in the Matrix. This is all a
man.
lie.
I knew it. Man. Are you hypnotizing me?
So your perception and my perception right now is so different about what's going on here based on our experiences in life, right? So
sure.
It's mind-blowing, the fact that if we can understand that we have been seeing life in just like a tiny little just viewpoint, right? Just our tiny little perception, that it's probably wrong. And somebody tells you, what you're thinking, what? Like, don't you realize all this other stuff that's going on around you? And then you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. The world is a lot different than I thought it was.
Yeah. I just, oh man, I just have so much work to do.
So do I.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But
one step at a time.
I'm definitely going to call you and get this going. I put it off for so long. People are like, dude, you going back to therapy yet?
Maybe it's timing. As I mentioned, timing is also a thing.
Dude, I'm busy. I got this going on.
But as you mentioned, you can't really like force people to do anything. And like,
right, when they're ready, they're ready.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the cool things about hypnotherapy, being in a state of hypnosis, is I'm guiding you, but you're telling me everything that's going on in here.
So do you do you have to set the mood with them in their like room? Like you have to, I know it's not like sound weird, but like you have to like dim the lights and like. So what does that look like?
Most of my clients are actually not in the United States. Most of my clients are like in Australia, Austria, Germany. What? I have a lot of clients that are
that's awesome.
Are in other states as well. So I just usually tell the person, hey, when you want to do the call, just find a place where you're comfortable. Sometimes I'll have them place the computer or their phone on their lap so I can see them. Physical language says a lot of things about how a person's feeling. So being able to get those cues is really important for me. But yeah, I just have them find a comfortable place and then where they can speak privately. So hopefully not anybody that is at home. Usually if they want to talk about something that they're experiencing in a relationship or whatever it is, I want people to feel free to express. And normally what the sessions look like is the first session's 2 hours. I do a 90-minute intake where we're looking at different parts of your life, family dynamic, health and fitness. What do you want your business to be like? What emotions come up, anger, anxiety, procrastination, or whatever it is that's coming up for you at the moment. And then we do a session based on what it is that you are feeling you need assistance with, right? And then we just keep working. The sessions after that are just 1 hour long. And then we just keep working on those specific things. How's that anxiety doing? How's that fear of public speaking? Right. And one thing that I do tell people when we're interviewing to see if we would be right for each other. Right. I tell people, I'm like, just so you know, I am going to make you do things that you don't want to do. Right. So if you have a fear of public speaking, you're probably going to be public speaking at some point, right? And so I try to live that way, like my life, doing the things that make me uncomfortable because I know it makes me better. Yeah. And I know that, if a person is anxious, like social anxiety, and they tell me my anxiety is getting better, and I say, how do you know? Are you like exposing yourself to social anxiety? So let's go do that. Go join I don't know, a pottery class. Go do something like
Start
this.
a podcast.
And start a podcast, you know?
Start talking to strangers.
Exactly. So I usually tell people you're going to, even though we're doing this work under hypnosis, right? That rewiring, reframing of specific events, you're still having to do the work and kind of challenge yourself to the things that you're not comfortable with, you know?
I think that's awesome. Man, I think that's great. And I'm glad you started.
Yeah.
And you're doing it.
It's pretty fun.
But I think I think the timing is now. I'm going to have to give you a call and
Love it.
get this going.
Love it.
So what's the next part of a chapter of your life? You told me you're moving, right?
No,
Is this happening?
I'm actually just staying in my house for the next 30 years. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh wow, really?
my husband would love to hear me say that. Yeah, I don't know, just continuing to grow my business. I really want to start hosting women's retreats and mindset retreats to kind of give people some more tools and how to, you know, kind of cope with life. I do feel like we grow up and we're not given the tools as children in school. Nobody teaches us, like, you know, nervous system regulation, or if we're experiencing a certain emotion, what part of your brain do we want to activate, right? So just being able to do that, as I mentioned, keep growing my business and, you know, just travel the world. My husband and I just love traveling. So that's...
But you guys are moving to Chile, right?
No, so we're actually going to Chile for one of my really good friends is getting married down there.
Oh, okay.
And then we are, you know, just taking a vacation. Hopefully if I'm fit enough at that point, I'm going to try to hike a 19,000 foot volcano. So we'll see. So hopefully do a couple volcanoes out there and, you know, just maybe do some rock climbing and...
Yeah, good old rock climbing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do that. So you're going to stay in Utah.
Yeah, we love Utah. We are both. So as I mentioned, he's from Missouri.
Yeah.
Which...
I haven't been there, so I have no idea.
Not much to do there, you know.
Except for drinking.
Just like for drinking. And...
Do some drinking and some trucking.
We do actually have a little fun tradition where I don't like country music. I'm sorry. I know people are going to hate on me and they're going to probably, you know, come find my house.
I hate it too.
But I do allow him. It's kind of cute. His dad will let us borrow his truck.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, bring on the country music.
Oh,
bring it on. And so it's really fun. We get to just enjoy the, you know, the rural Missouri roads with some country music and the pickup truck. No, it's a good time.
Oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's pretty much, we both love Utah. We love skiing. We love a lot of the stuff that we do out here, and I think it's hard to find anywhere else, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say you guys are built for Utah. When I see you guys are always like, I'm like, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. I like going on hikes.
Yeah.
Really into that. Even I like cold hiking though. Like
nice.
Like when nobody likes to go, that's when I like to go.
That's why I like to night hike.
Yeah. Let me know. I'll go on a night hike with you guys.
It's like mind blowing. Mostly on a full moon.
Never been. Never
game
done
changer.
It. Do you need the spikes for your shoes?
That's how we got engaged.
Really?
Yeah, he proposed. So our thing when we started dating was peak bagging, trying to do as many peaks as we can in one day. And
animals.
There's this peak that it's very special to both of us, and we did a sunset night hike up there, and he proposed to me up on that peak. So.
Oh man. Yeah. What a stud.
Very romantic. Dream proposal.
That's what's up. That is what's up.
Yeah.
So I know I keep asking you. So because I saw you guys put your house for rent. That's done.
So that is actually another property that we have. That's a townhouse.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I thought you guys were I thought you were moving out of the country.
No, we bought this this house 2 years ago.
Lucky.
Actually,
try buying a house now.
I'm not gonna lie, we got lucky. I think our house, we found it on a Sunday, saw it on Monday, put an offer on Monday, like 8 p.m. And the lender's like, rates are going up tomorrow. We were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So we got super lucky with the house. But
Good for you guys.
and so we just have the other property that we just rent out. The
Smart.
townhouse.
There's this little house right over here by the park.
Uh-huh.
The little old lady passed away. She was so sweet. Always like waved her.
Oh.
But she passed on, and I was like, dang, I want that house. If that house ever went, it's for sale now.
Yeah.
So I looked up on Zelle. I was like, wow, 300, with 33,000, 350.
Yeah.
I was like, so I looked at it. I was like, wait a minute, 1,600 square foot.
You're like,
for
yeah, I'm
two
good.
beds, one bath. I was like, no,
Yeah.
that house is not worth that amount of money. Because there's one house right up the street here that's newer,
Yeah.
bigger, and I think it's going for about the same.
Yeah, it's
I was like,
crazy.
Trying to buy a house right now is just like, dude, you might as well just.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sit
I
there
just
and
know
wish.
if I ever have kids, that my children will probably be living with me for eternity.
Probably.
So, there's that.
Yeah, I don't think home ownership is just unfortunately becoming a thing of the past for a lot of.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, culturally, in Hispanic families, it's like you buy one house and
Everybody moves in.
your entire family lives there, and they have the one car that's the car for lifetime, and the house that's the house for a lifetime. It's like here, when we moved to the States, and it was like, oh my gosh, everything is like so fast, clothing and cars, and like it's like every year somebody's getting some new. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's a different ball game. I wish more people could just take the time and just slow it down. Myself included, just watching time fly. It's because I'm just really busy. And I tell this to a lot of people. It's only going by because you're busy.
Yeah.
When you're not busy, it's like, dude, this day is dragging.
Yeah. I mean, we live in like a very fast pace.
Bless you.
Excuse me. We live in a very fast paced society.
Yeah.
And, it's funny when I go back to South America and I'm in Chile and I'm like, wait, lunchtime from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.? I'm
Yeah.
like, how the hell are you going to pay your bills, man?
I know. Going on vacation
So-
is tough for me. It's hard to just like turn everything off. Just
Yeah.
okay, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Wake up late. It's like, oh, dude, how do you? It's tough.
Yeah. I told
tough.
my husband, I was, both of us do a lot, I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I said, we need to learn how to have our house as a vacation home, meaning, hey, our phones are going to get put away for the entire weekend and everybody's going to think we're gone. And
That's awesome.
we're going to entertain ourselves at home without TV and just like connecting with each other, enjoying each other's company, focusing on cooking our food and meditating together and just being mindful, because sometimes, he's so sweet. Sometimes he's like the end of the week and he's like, I just feel like I haven't connected with you. And I'm like, I know, we're just going,
Yeah.
So also trying to be mindful in our lives with that is so important, but it's hard. It's hard sometimes with, just the societies. It's the society we live in,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good that you guys are doing it. I'm so glad that you came over.
Yeah, me
everything.
too.
Where can people find you if they want to like explore
Yes, so I have my Instagram. I do have a link account, so it's valentina.de.ferrari.
Okay.
I do not own a Ferrari. I wish I did.
I think we all do.
So on my Instagram, I do have a booking link, and people can book in a free 30-minute session where I just kind of explain the process and kind of get to know them and see if we're compatible and see what they're looking for and kind of set expectations and, answer any questions that people might have. So, and then see what the coaching will look like for them. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm glad the timing was right.
It was meant to be this time. It was about time.
It was a long run. I was like, I'm going to keep trying, but I don't want to be annoying. I don't like being that guy. So I'll hit people up maybe like once or twice a month, and then I'll leave it alone for a long time.
So I told you public speaking fear,
Yeah.
right? So here's where we're at today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you would have told me this when you asked me. I was like, oh, no, yeah, podcast sounds
Hell
cool.
no.
And then I'm just like, all right, you're never gonna see me again.
I know. I was like, just because I follow you like on Instagram. I was like, dang, she's married. And I was like, she's just way too busy. I was like, you don't need to be asking right now, because I knew I did ask you at one point. You're like, dude, I got a wedding going on. I got X, Y, and Z. I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, it worked out though. It's good timing.
Yes, and I'm glad you guys are staying in Utah. I'm glad you guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, not for my personal well-being, but like, I just when I heard, I was like, dang, you're moving.
No,
Like,
we'll be here.
Man.
We'll be here dying from the salt flats and from the pollution.
Eventually,
and,
yeah, we're all gonna die from that, huh? Dude,
It's
you
fine.
see the air today?
Oh
my
it's
god,
fresh and so clean. I just can't wait to get out there and just
man,
take a deep breath in.
Yeah, and then the toxics they say is coming from the Salt Lake drying up. I don't know.
I know. I'm just like, you know what? We're all gonna die of something. I'm doing the best that I can with eating healthy, exercising, But as I mentioned, the rabbit hole goes very deep when it's you start thinking about everything, and it's just there's only so much we can control,
Yeah. I mean, if you go anywhere, every state's gonna have an issue.
Yeah.
Nevada's gonna run out of water soon, supposedly, and like
my girlfriend told me that the water in Florida is yellow. When she fills up her bathtub is yellow. I'm like, from so many chemicals that they have to put to clean the water. So then it's like, hey, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah.
I'm doing the best that I can. I try to show up for the world, the environment, the best way I can. But, I can't be moving every year somewhere new just because the pollution it's like...
Yeah, I
just
totally
I'll just
agree.
drive my car less. Luckily, I work from home now, so
that's always been a dream of mine. Work from home.
Yeah, I had to learn to. It's just funny, but I was like, how do I want to show up in my business? And this is gonna sound really silly, but as soon as I started not wearing sweatpants on my calls, you know how they have the joke that the guy is wearing boxers and then a button-up shirt.
Yeah.
All right, well, girls are wearing sweatpants, like something pretty similar, and my business shifted so much once I started getting dressed up for work. It was mind-blowing.
I bet, because it feels like there's a little more effort in there. Like you're taking it serious.
Mindset.
Yeah.
It's mindset.
I totally get that.
Right? It's like, what does embodying a successful person look like? How do they show up for their business? How do they show up for work? It's like, gotta start showing up better for the life I'm trying to create,
Yeah. If we were doing a session, I was like, dude, wait, hold on. And
I'll stand up and I'll be like, hey, here you go.
I'll be like, oh, she doesn't take her job serious.
Total judgment right there.
I mean, I've done it too. It was like, I've been on like school calls for stuff, and then like, dude, I'm in like shorts and there's like coffee and shit all around me, and like in a sweater, just like, this isn't very professional, you know? But I totally get that. But, well, I was going to ask you something and I totally forgot.
It'll come to you.
So, oh, yeah. I
See,
had it.
Told you.
If you ever need to do like for your business, if you want to grow, like if you want to do some sort of audio or anything,
yes,
let me know, because it is
I would
all
love
here.
That's
it
awesome.
Could chop it up for you if you want to do like a breathing session for folks.
Yes, I would love that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, let me know. It's here for you.
See, look, my brain, you say I'm looking for a new purpose, and I'm like, okay, he can start making money off this. How do we get a business going? How do we do this? What investors do we need?
Yeah. I don't even want money. I just want to let you know it's there.
I love that. Thank you.
If you ever, I enjoy editing audio. I love coaching people through it.
I would love for you to teach me. Literally, I will pay you for your time, because there's so many things that I want to learn how to do that I don't know how to do. So that would be awesome.
I could tell you, and I could teach you. And you
so
could get the
where
stuff
do
at
we
home.
find you?
Oh, it's Herb Sessions. It's all out there. It's just on Herb Sessions. But yeah, if you want me to like tell you what to get, and I'll show you a couple times.
Love it.
I mean, it's beyond easy. Cool. I've been doing it for a while, and I've been wanting to pass this down to somebody.
Yeah.
So you can grow it.
Arms wide open. I'm here.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, it's there for you. So cool. Thank you again for coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Love it. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, enjoy, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.